If you guys are in the market for a cordless circular saw from Dewalt and Milwaukee, you've probably saw that there's various different models. There's the entry-level ones that we have here that are brush motors. They have their more expensive brushless versions as well. My goal here today, we'll compare both of these entry-level from Milwaukee and Dewalt to kind of see where they stack up against each other in regard to specs. Then we'll also get into a side-by-side comparison where we use some of their regular 5V batteries. Then we'll also get into some of their more higher outputs. On the Milwaukee side, we have a Forge. Then we'll use a 5V Powerstack over here on this to kind of see where these two saws stand when using these batteries. Starting with the Milwaukee, over here is Milwaukee M18 2630 and it retails for roughly around $129. Over here is the Dewalt 20V DCS391B and this one retails roughly around $139. However, I have saw this one regularly on sale around $99. I'll put links in the descriptions to both of these. Some of the similarities and differences between the two here. These are both 6.5 inch blades with a 5/8 arbor. In regard to the motor, over here on the Milwaukee side, it's going to be a brush motor and it's going to have a max RPM of 3,500. On the Dewalt, it's also a brush motor and it's going to have a max RPM of 5,150. Moving on to the construction of both of these, they're very similar. So starting over here with the Dewalt, it has a magnesium guard up here. The shoe is all magnesium. Then this down here is going to be plastic. Similar over here on the Milwaukee side, we have a magnesium guard. This is going to be aluminum, which I do like, but again, we have that cheap looking plastic on the bottom of the Milwaukee as well. To give you an example, here's the Milwaukee Fuel version of that, and you can see we have a nice guard down here as well. So that is one knock on both of these. They have a plastic guard on the bottom, which you just got to be careful on how you're setting it down, but you know, that is something to keep in mind. Other than that, the rest of the construction, I do like it on both of them. Moving on to the bevel capacity and the max cut, they both have the ability to bevel up to 50 degrees and you just release the knob. And likewise over here on Milwaukee, you can just release it there and you'll be able to pivot. In addition, just like all the other circular saws on the market, you can also adjust it on the bottom there. The max cut at 45 degrees is going to be 1 9/16 over here. Over here on the Dewalt, it's going to be 1 5/8. In regard to the 90 degree max, it's going to be 2 1/8 on both of these. Both of these saws also have an electric brake, meaning when you start this and you release the trigger, it's going to immediately stop. And I'll give you an example here. And immediately they stop, so you're not waiting for that blade to stop running in there. Likewise over here on the Dewalt, they immediately stop. So that is a good feature that both of them also have. Moving on to the bare weight of both of these, our Dewalt's going to come in at roughly 5 pounds, 15 ounces, and our Milwaukee is 6 pounds, 15 ounces. So our Milwaukee bare weight, it is about a pound heavier than what our Dewalt is. Alright, so in our demo here, we're going to start out with some 2x4s, then we'll get into some thicker material, some plywood, etc. there. I'm going to be starting out with a 5V battery on both of these. Then we're also going to move it up to the higher output battery. So on the Dewalt side, it's going to be the 5V Powerstack. On Milwaukee, we have a Forge XC60. If you've seen some of my other videos on this Forge and this Powerstack, we do know that these batteries are going to give these tools more power. Today, I want to see how much more power we're going to get out of using these tools while utilizing these batteries. Alright, so one of my final thoughts here. As you saw there in that demo, both of these saws are capable of doing various different things. We started out with some 2x4s, got into some 3/4 inch plywood, even cut some 1.5 inch maple butcher block that both of these saws were capable of doing that. As you saw there in each one of those demos, when we started out with the 5.0, they were able to do it, but when we switched over to the higher output battery, so we have a 5.0 Powerstack and an XE Forge over here, it increased the power of both of these saws pretty significantly. As you saw there when we went through the first time, you can see the motor struggling a little bit more on the Milwaukee than probably the Dewalt because it is a little bit less RPM. This one's at that 3,500 and this one's 5,150 that I mentioned there before. So our Dewalt is a little bit more powerful. So we did see that the Milwaukee probably benefited more with a higher output battery over here than what our Dewalt did. With that said, we did see that the Powerstack also offered, some more power as well, but I think the difference was probably more noticeable on the Milwaukee, and it was really, you could hear the motor bogging down more with the 5.0 versus when we switch it over to the higher output. But nonetheless, I think both of these saws operated good with the regular 5.0. They just operated a little bit better when we switched it over to the high output batteries. So to wrap up here, if you're in the market for one of these, I wouldn't hesitate on either one of these. Now, as I mentioned there before, these are both brushed motors, so there is some value in getting the brushless motor. You're going to get a longer run time, you'll get faster cuts, and actually the motor on both of them will last longer when you switch over to the brushless models that both of these offer. So that is something to keep in mind. With that said, around the $100 range that these are a good alternative for some homeowner use. You might not need longer runtime if you're only going to use it on occasion, and you can save the extra $100 versus getting these more expensive brushless versions that both Dewalt and Milwaukee make as well. So that is something to keep in mind. The only knock I would say on both of these, and I mentioned it before, is the plastic guards that they both have on the bottom. And as I mentioned there before, this one here is the Milwaukee brushless version, and this has, a magnesium guard down here. So I do really like that better than the plastic, but nonetheless, these saws are about $100 cheaper than what that more expensive brushless model is over there, so it is what it is. But if you can look past the plastic guard, I think both of these saws in the entry-level homeowner use, I think these are an excellent option, especially for the price. So hopefully this helped you out. If it did, please give me the thumbs up. If you're interested in more content like this, please hit that subscribe. But again, I hope this helped you out, and thanks for watching.